The views and opinions expressed on this show do not reflect that of the staff and management of WNOV and W293 CX 106.5 FM Courier Communications Milwaukee, but are the sole comments of the host and guest of this particular show.
The views and opinions expressed in this program do not reflect those of Wisconsin Voices. The views and opinions expressed by host and guests are their own, and their appearance on the show does not imply any endorsement or representation by Wisconsin Voices. Thank you for listening to Be a Voice with Wisconsin Voices.
Be a voice.
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 Visit WisconsinVoices.org.
Visit WisconsinVoices.org.
Visit WisconsinVoices.org
and learn more on how to be a voice with Wisconsin Voices.
You guys have to get out and vote. Anybody who is in the 4th Senate District, please get out and vote. There's two candidates, State Representative Dora Drake and State Representative Lakeisha Myers. Full disclosure, both were asked to come into the show, and one could not. It didn't. Her schedule wouldn't allow it. But they were both asked, and one will be on. So I just want to be full disclosure. We're not advocating for anybody.
We're not biased.
We're not biased. We just gave it out. But we have a lot to cover right now. So let's talk about the elections.
Mm-hmm. Oh, just any angle from any elections?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a very important election. This is for Senate District.
You talking about ours? You talking about a local election? Then?
Local.
Okay,
the
cool.
special election.
Okay.
And this is for used to be Senator Taylor's district,
Mm-hmm.
now Judge Taylor. They're having someone replace her, and those two candidates are Lakeisha Myers and Dora Drake. And you have a choice in those communities that had Lena Taylor as your representative. You have a choice to go vote for your next representative. Now, that is very, very important. So when you get your next representative and you did not vote, please do not be a person that complain about this person not representing you right, because you need to cast your vote today. I know it's rainy. It's going to be raining all day, different pockets. And it is so weird. We could take a poll on how many times, even in the winter, it rains on election day. I don't know what it is about election day. Yeah. It's just like a day of cleansing or something.
But this is, let me break this down to you so you may be able to understand this. This is an important election. This person, there is a possibility, if we don't do things right, there could be a super majority. And that means no matter what Tony Evers vetoes, if they have a super majority that can override it. And this is such a dangerous situation right now, in the sense of they could push legislation that none of us, at least in the Milwaukee area, or the people of color, because that is what Wisconsin Voices actually stands for and believes in. That's one of our emphasis is protecting marginalized, disenfranchised people, as well as people who don't have a voice. And they could throw in a whole bunch of legislation that could pass. So this special election is super important. Some of these people, polling places at 8:00 in the morning, had only one person that came in. This is big. This may not seem like it's a big issue, but we have to put people in place that we can stop some of the rhetoric that happens with our legislature, especially when it comes to Milwaukee County. Mm-hmm. They always have an issue with bringing funds into Milwaukee County or helping Milwaukee County. And I want to, express this to the people the representatives who serve people in Milwaukee County. You guys need to understand Milwaukee County consists of 19 municipalities. That's West Dallas, Wauwatosa, Fox Point, Bayside. Anytime they do something against Milwaukee, most of the time, the city of Milwaukee, it's against Milwaukee County. So you're involved in that as well. So, this is not about, it's usually county related stuff. So all those, Milwaukee is only one of those municipalities.
That trickle effect.
Right.
It's the trickle. Exactly. It's a trickle effect. West Allis, Greenfield, Greendale, all of those, Franklin. Let's see, who else is there? Franklin, Oak Creek,
Hales Corners.
West
Allis.
Yeah, West. All of those places are part of Milwaukee County. Bayside, River Hills, Brown Deer. These are all part of Milwaukee County. So if you are not even vote your where is self-preservation at?
Right.
It's like you can sit here and say one thing, and you can hate Milwaukee, you can hate what it stands for, you can think of all that, but it's self-preservation.
I was just telling you before you walked in, it's about representing yourself. Today is the day that anybody in Lena Taylor's old district can go out and vote for a representative that you feel will represent you.
And so, and I keep saying this, and it gets to the point where I say that no one ever steals something or tries to take something that is not valuable. And there is something that you need to do, and that's vote. And they are trying to disrupt the elections already. I know we have somebody who's trying to call in and they can't get in because it keeps ringing. So we're going to try to give them the other number.
Yeah, 5253.
414-444-5253. Because this is there's some chaos going on at the polling places in my city, Glendale, Wisconsin.
Oh, is this all new information?
This is brand new,
Really?
right just now.
Really?
And I'll get more details on it, but there are people who are not, that you can observe elections. That is a right of anybody to observe elections, but you have to call, you have to register in, and you have to say who you are and all that. And these people are refusing. We're going to get the mayor of Glendale on to tell us what's going on. Mayor Kennedy, are you there?
I am here.
Hello, Mayor Kennedy. How are you today in your jury duty? He's doing double duty.
Yep, I'm doing jury duty, but I did just get released from that. So I'm actually free now for the rest of the day.
Okay, well, Mayor Kennedy, I was just talking about some of the polling issues Glendale is having. Can you give us a little bit of what's going on there?
Yeah, what we're seeing is actually some really despicable behavior, and I believe it is the GOP that is preparing for what they're going to do in November. We have a Democratic primary between two state representatives to replace State Senator Lena Taylor, who is now a judge. There is no Republican running. Today is just the Democratic primary, and we have observers at all Glendale polling locations who are either listing themselves as GOP or concerned citizen. None of them are from Milwaukee County. Some of them are from as far away as like Norway, which is an hour and 15 minutes southwest of Glendale. And they have been challenging every single absentee ballot. And they are also disrupting the proceedings going on of people trying to come in and vote by arguing with the poll workers, saying that they're not allowed to get close enough. They're allowed to be 3 feet away. There's tape on the floor that shows where they're allowed to be, but that's not good enough to them. They are complaining that about every single ballot.
Guys, people, please get out and vote. Mayor Kennedy, what are some of the things the city is trying to help with or do?
So Glendale has always worked really hard to make sure that our voters feel like they have the opportunity to vote. So we send poll workers out to all of the nursing homes to make sure they have an opportunity to register. They have an opportunity to cast a ballot with a special voting deputy. We encourage our voters through multiple city newsletters as well as city emails to request an absentee ballot if for any reason you think you might need one. And so we push really hard on our voters to vote by absentee ballot. And as a result of the efforts that we have done in informing our voters of all the different ways they can cast a ballot, making sure they're aware of when all the elections are, we have an incredibly high turnout. In the gubernatorial election in 2022, we had a 90% turnout. In the presidential election in 2021, we had a 91, or 2020, we had a 91% turnout. So our voters are informed on how to vote, and they know all the options available to them, and they show up and vote. And so I believe that's why the Republicans are targeting Glendale, because we vote overwhelmingly Democratic, and our voters are going to turn out and vote. And so they're practicing right now how they can disenfranchise voters in a very Democratic city come November.
Well, thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Please keep us informed. Wisconsin Voices is going to try to make sure that people get this information, but we're also going to push. One of our pillars is protect democracy. This is part of protecting democracy,
Yes.
getting your vote out, making sure that your vote counts, and making sure that
you're comfortable when you go to the polls.
exactly without having
Right.
to have a huge issue just to get to the ballot box.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Mayor Kennedy. I appreciate you, and we'll get updates soon.
Okay. I'll let you know if anything changes. Thank you.
Thank you.
So again, just to recap what is happening, all three polling places in Glendale have had observers come in and try to either question the absentee ballots or stop people from going in. 2 have been removed from one of the polling places, one at the Bavarian Beer House, which is my district's polling place, and then the Good Hope School.
Oh, wow.
And the third polling place, which is the city hall that is connected to the police department, they had some disturbing, but it went pretty quick because they
right by the jail.
we right by the jail. So I think that's it. But please exercise your right to vote. Here's the other thing that even though I am, affiliated with Glendale, this election also will determine people in Milwaukee who your representative is going to be. Now, as you just heard, 90% of Glendale comes out to vote. Pretty much, it's an average of 90%. Shorewood is close to that as well, or right close to it. But as a Milwaukee resident, you have a vote too, and because of the way the lines are drawn, do you want
It's majority
Glendale?
Milwaukee, yeah.
It's majority Milwaukee, but do you want Glendale and Shorewood to decide who your representative is? Yes, then that's great. If you think we have a good idea of what's going on, go ahead. But you should have a way of getting in there too. So
You should have a voice.
you should have a voice, and don't let anybody else dictate who is going to be your representative. With that being said, we have a candidate here who is running in this special election. And again, I did reach out to both candidates. Introduce yourself.
Hello, Milwaukee. This is Lakeisha Myers. I'm the state representative currently for the 12th Assembly District, and hopefully I will be your next state senator for District 4. So if you are in Milwaukee, north of Capitol to the county line or to 124th Street, in the Madison Park area of Wauwatosa, if you live in Glendale or Shorewood, I am running to be your state senator today. So please go out and vote today. I was number 3 at Vincent High School at about 10:15. So, and it was 2 people behind me. So 3, 4, and 5, I saw who they were.
Oh, you voted today?
Yes, I always vote.
Well, this is how we roll when we have candidates in. So we're going to ask, first and foremost, what does a state rep do? Because a lot of times people are like, what am I voting for?
Right.
So tell me, or a state senator, because I forgot you a rep now. But what does a state senator do?
So a state senator is similar to a state rep. You do the work of the people at the state level. So in essence, the things that we are prescribed to do are constituent outreach for anything that deals with a state agency. So if you have issues with the Department of Children and Families, you have issues with insurance, you need Title 19, you can reach our office and we can help you walk through those processes. If you need help with SNAP benefits or food share, called in Wisconsin. So if you need help with navigating those avenues, unemployment insurance, we do all of those things. We help you navigate every state agency that exists. So if you have any issue with a state agency, you call your state representative or your state senator, and we should be able to elevate that or get you some resolve to that situation. Now, that's what we're prescribed to do. The other stuff comes under the guise of constituent relations. And that is when you see Black History Month programming, when you see the additional things that we do in the Capitol to bring awareness and civic engagement to the community, we do that as well. So when you talk about advocacy days, when you talk about presenting citations to people in the community for doing the work that they've done, I use the example, I know Homer talked this morning about Homer Blow's birthday party for the kids that he has. Homer lives in my district. I actually was able to honor Homer at the state capitol regarding the work that he and his wife do with the Homer Blow birthday party for the kids. And understanding Homer's backstory, I thought he would be a good person to be acknowledged as a hometown hero in the Capitol. And he was able to get that. So that was a specialized moment where he was able to address all 99 members of the assembly and have a citation presented to him as one of our hometown heroes. So we're able to do different things like that.
So and I know we have a caller, but I want to get a little bit into this. And another thing that I believe you guys do is you represent your district when in regards to the state budget.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
And I think that's
a
one
big piece of it.
A big piece of it. Can I kind of explain what?
Sure. So when you look at the state budget, a budget is the fiscal description of your priorities as a state. And when you think about in the legislature, we have 33 members in the Senate and 99 members in the Assembly. Everybody wants to have a voice and a piece of the pie when it comes to what we give to the state and how we distribute those funds throughout the state agencies. Part of that is making sure that your priorities and your visions are represented in that budget. So if you are a person who understands what corrections, is supposed to do, the rehabilitative purpose of corrections is probably the largest piece of the pie in the state budget because it's the largest agency and they have to sustain the people that are in custody. So understanding that, how much of that is going for salary and benefits for people who watch the folks who are in custody, how much of that goes toward food service, what is the quality of food service, all of those things get delved through in the state budget process. So when you look at the actual piece of rehabilitative services, that percentage is smaller in the state budget. So if you're a person that advocates, like you're working with Expo or any of the other groups that talk about people who are incarcerated and what those priorities are, and you actually want to see rehabilitative services in the state budget, you have to increase that piece of the pie. So tell me what you want to see as far as AODA treatment that exists for people who are incarcerated. Because if you went in for an addiction issue and it doesn't get addressed, guess what? You can walk right out of the door and still have an addiction issue. Yeah. And now we're just repeating this cycle all over again.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're going to take this call. Caller, go ahead.
Good morning, and thank you for taking my call.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Assalamu alaikum to you all.
Walaikum salam, Brother Christopher.
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Myers.
I guess you got a fan base already. right?
Well, I was calling because Dr. Myers, I did cast a vote a while ago. I forgot what time. There wasn't a lot of people where I went, but I casted my vote. I casted it for you. And a person asked me as I was leaving, why did I vote? Why did I vote? Then I was like, I just told them that I voted for you. I was like, well, I voted for Keisha Myers. Then he was like, well, why'd you do that? And I was like, well, the reason why I voted for, or some of the reasons why I voted for Dr. Lakeisha Myers is because I think she has a full grasp, or she has a comprehensive understanding as to what
is going on, what needs to be done. She's, in my opinion, highly qualified. And I think that we deserve to put a person in that position that Judge Lena Taylor occupied for so long, who I think would be just as vigorous in the pursuit of justice and equality for our people on a state representative level. So thank you for taking my call.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. I thank you for your vote, Christopher.
So let's talk about a little bit about you, because he kept calling you doctor. So we kind of,
I've
known
you just talked to Dr. Brian Kennedy as well.
Yeah, but that's Brian. That's my mayor. I know about him. But the thing is, I've known you for a while. Not really getting the grasp of what you've really done. I think you should kind of tell people what your background is and how you got to where you are, because I think that does make a difference.
Sure.
Starting with just your education background, and then how'd you get to be running right here? And I know you took some people out to get to where you are. So
You make it sound like, assassination. Don't say it like that.
no,
That
you know
sounds-
what it
people
is.
turn the
It's
radio
what
on,
you
they
have
want
to,
something else.
but
mercenary or
but
something.
you, it's political. You have to do this. You have to fight.
You
to
do.
get to
You
your
do.
spot.
And you
So
have
I
to
just wanted to-
understand. You have to understand kind of how I was raised. I guess I'll go back there. So both of my parents are teachers or retired now, but were educators by trade. Both Southerners, both came to Wisconsin for better opportunities in the 70s, and we're a part of kind of the union movement in Milwaukee. All of that, especially when you look at the union movement, especially for Black teachers in a state like Wisconsin, who for a long time would not hire Black educators. Let me start there with that. And then had a wave and influx of Southern Black teachers that joined the unions. There was infighting in the teachers union back in the day to recognize Black teachers, to even, give them basically a seat at the table. My parents were a part of that movement. You coupled that with the time that when I came along, being born in the 80s, and apartheid was high in South Africa, what was going on. My parents took me to Mandela rallies. So that's how I grew up. You have to do something about the things that you dislike. So I grew up in a family of activists, of people who believed in fighting for what was right, in whatever way you saw that was possible and could be your lane in doing that. So that's where I get my spirit of fighting for people from. Also my love of education, because education, I was taught, could be the great equalizer among people. And my parents made sure that I had those opportunities and were able to do that work and do it. And not just educating in the schoolhouse, but we had books at home. I got retaught at home. I got expanded lesson plan editions at my house,
So you might have had one piece of homework.
I had one
for
piece of
school,
homework,
but your mom
and then mom and dad gave me,
Special projects.
the special projects, summer projects that you got. And then it was like when I went to Auntie's house, I had to do it here, So all these people, I had work to do everywhere I went. It was something that was being done to kind of nourish and feed that spirit and that piece about it, and always understanding who you are and always understanding your history. All of that was always a part of whatever we did. So that was that piece. So translate that into 1992. That's where I always tell people I got bit by the political bug in 1992, that I can say officially that I wanted to be in politics. Bill Clinton was running for president. We had a mock election in my elementary school at Lloyd Street School. Shout out to Ms. Helen Harris, who was our principal. And we had a mock election, and they asked, amongst the second and third graders who wanted to play, I think it was Ross Perot, George Bush, and Bill Clinton. And I wanted to be Bill Clinton because Bill Clinton had been on Arsenio Hall and he was cool. And he played the saxophone. And I said, and they talked about the fact that he ate McDonald's. And for whatever reason, I was like, the president eats McDonald's. I like McDonald's. At that time, I was eating McDonald's, and I said we should vote for him because he liked McDonald's. All of the things that people do, they vote for people they like. So all these things. So I said, okay. I said, I like Bill Clinton. And they were asking people who wanted to be the different candidates. And I said, can I play Bill Clinton? And this boy in my class was like, you a girl and you black. Ain't nobody gonna, you can't be Bill Clinton. I was like, yes, I can. So I asked the teacher if I could be Bill Clinton. And she said, yes, you can be our school's Bill Clinton. So we had to do the whole thing. You had to go around and ask people to vote for you. You had to give a speech. You did all these things. And my sister had it blew bubbles out of it, but it was a fake saxophone. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I know what I'm going to do when I give my little speech. I'm going to have my little sister's fake saxophone and we're going to do the whole thing. So I did this whole little presentation and everybody clapped and they liked it. And I said, oh, I think I'm going to win. So then they had to do everybody went and voted. Bill Clinton won that election. Bill Clinton, AKA me, won that election. And I said, I want to be the president. And that's what I said. I said, I'm going to be the president when I grow up. And I kept telling everybody I was going to be the president. And they were like, oh, that's so cute. That's so nice. She want to be president. That's so cute. So it became this running thing like, oh, here's our president. People at church will say, here comes the president. So translating that into real life as you get older, I worked on campaigns. Mm-hmm. I managed people's campaigns. I managed at least 4 campaigns for people who ran for county supervisor, for state rep when I was in college in Mississippi. I was on the ground for the John Kerry campaign back in 2004. That was my first national campaign that I worked on as a field organizer in the state of Mississippi, which of course was very, very red. Yes. It was difficult. We were trying to, get people to register to vote and do all these things and activate college students and do all this stuff. So I really got involved in the Democratic Party, probably late high school years. I was one of the first high school Democrats that we had from Milwaukee before they really, really organized, about like they are now. And then I went into college and joined the College Democrats of America. I was the national membership director for College Democrats back in 2005. We had our national convention is always parallel to the Democratic convention. So I went to Boston in 2004 and I was, did all these things and was able to see, how the party operates from the inside out. So I was able to understand that we have political organizations are businesses.
Right. They are
businesses. And that is how we operate our presidential system. So you have to be a member of the business. You have to be a member of the club to actually do this work and to understand what it takes to run for president and the behind the scenes pieces with people who are lobbyists and people who their sole job is to raise money and they pack money for, statewide candidates and do all this stuff. And I realized, number one, the fact that there were not that many Black people involved at that level. And my goal was to try to bring people to the table to do some of that work because we have very talented people in our communities as people of color, but very few of them actually get the opportunity, a seat or exposure to learn how to do compliance for a campaign. Or when you talk about polling, I remember when Cornell Belcher first started Brilliant Corners. So I was there when that started on the ground and he got, his major blow up was the Obama campaign because he was the only Black pollster that was around. And you don't see, folks doing that work and doing these things in that way. So just understanding people who get to run and operate a convention. I know the people who actually, were the CEOs of the Democratic National Convention, the last 2 conventions. So all of the folks that actually do this work have mentored me in some way, shape, or form, doing that work, understanding what it means to be a DNC member. We got Tamika here, who's now an elected DNC member.
We are on a C3
We are, but we on the C3 side today. But this is me talking. Okay. Saying people who are, the views and opinions are mine. So, just people like Martha Love who have been in that space to do those things at the party level. So to see it operate from the inside out, you have to be in the game to understand it.
I got one question for you
Yes.
too. When you were working with the John Kerry campaign,
Mhm.
did you build a lot of tough skin working down there in the South? Did you see, okay, this is how if I can handle being down here in Mississippi doing registrations? I know you said you've been to like
Mhm.
Boston and you did a
Yeah.
lot during that critical time and kind of like a transition of that party. Do you see, I know you see a lot of difference from that time because we all do, but you see you built a lot of tough skin where you working with that, working in that area at that time.
Catch Wisconsin Voices via Voice Radio every Monday, Tuesday, and Friday at 11 a.m. as we focus on community partnerships, voter education, and long-term collective impact for all Wisconsinites.
You're listening to Wisconsin Voices via Voice Radio. Follow us at BAWI Voice and learn more at wisconsinvoices.org. Wisconsin Voices 3 pillars: protecting democracy, teaching advocacy, building community.
About working in the South. So first of all, I think voting culture among Black folks, especially in a state like Mississippi that has had such a storied past, is very, very important. However, we have also run into, I think what we see now more so on a widespread scale, it is you have the people who are consistently voting all the time because it was just entrenched in them because they did not have that effective vote within their lifetime, and they understand how fragile it is. So with older people, those are my people who I know are going to vote 9 times out of 10. They're going to vote all the time. Younger people who have had the opportunity to vote, trying to convince them to vote was the issue, especially working in that point in time, because you see people who can have a certain level of apathy about it and say, well, it doesn't really change anything. And I think when you look at a state like Mississippi, you're dealing with a state that had a large poor population. People had, quite frankly, a lot of things on their mind to do and had to connect the dots for them to see how voting would make a difference.
Okay.
We were able to do that effectively. We raised, if you look at the state of Mississippi on a map, the northern part of the district of the state, large voter population there. In the Delta, it started to grow into about half.
Okay.
And then at the bottom part, and I'm just talking Democratic politics, you see a lot of people in the city centers that, of course, it's the same way it is here. You see a large city centers in the rural areas. It was sporadic. You got the more red entertainment stuff down there. Yeah. And then you have the Gulf Coast area. It's like little Las Vegas. So again, that is a large, that was a Democratic stronghold as well in like Jackson County, Harrison County, Hancock down in those areas. And you started to see a lot of folks who were either transplants from other places moving back to, because you have, the repopulation of a state like Mississippi with people who are from there. They've lived elsewhere and then they go back and they're now repopulating the state. So you're starting to see Democratic pickups there in those areas as well. So I see those things happening. But I will tell you, it gave me a lot of tough skin to work in places like Vermont or New Hampshire that don't have a large Black population. I'm comfortable wherever I go.
You did West Virginia too?
I've never been to West Virginia. That is place I've never been. You did West Virginia? Yeah, I've never been to West Virginia. And they have actually a good Black population in West Virginia too.
Okay.
Yeah, that's interesting. But
so let's ask the key question here. What makes you qualified to take over Senator Lena Taylor's spot? Because she's been there for a year, and I know, and she's been there for almost 20 years or close to 20 years.
Yeah, she was in the legislature for 20 years.
Yeah.
So I will say this. To me, and this is my, like I said, views and opinions. This is me. Lena Taylor is the blueprint of how to effectively legislate. That's what I believe, and especially in a state like Wisconsin. Because she took what the job description is and what you're supposed to do and amplified that times probably 1,000. Lena is the person that came to if you invited her to come to church, she was coming to church. If you invited her to speak at, your cousin Tay-Tay's baby shower, she was coming to that too. And I use that as an example because that's how you effectively serve the community. When
And
I
you know
worked
what
in
the
her office,
community is saying because
you always
every
keep
single
your
day.
ear to the ground
Yep.
and you're always engaged with the community. It was not a title for her. It was service. It was the work. And that's the way I look at this. I like legislating. I like creating bills. I like reading the budget. I like, because I'm nosy. I want to know what's in it. I want to know where my money is going. So I can tell you, oh, this is something that you are a chef. Do you know you can get agriculture tax credits and work with this particular way? You can do this thing. Do you know that if you go to college for this, there's a scholarship waiting on you at these universities? How does that translate into the workforce for our state? It's access and opportunity. That's why I want to do this job. So when you see the things that I've done and the access that I've been able to create in the assembly, imagine that will get amplified yet again with a Senate budget, because we get more money in the Senate. I'm just be honest with you. Not more money as pay, but more money as far as office supplies and staff
And just doing the
just
work. in
doing the
community.
work. Having a district office would be great so I can move out of my kitchen table. Those things, help me so I don't have to keep going to the library to meet with constituents when they need stuff. There's a designated place to do that. But I think those are the things that I look forward to when you think about being a senator. So that's the piece of it. I think I have the moxie to follow Alina because I was taught by somebody who taught me how to do it correctly.
So
I have a question. Okay, I do. I know Senator Taylor worked on a lot of legislature,
Yes.
and I would like
wanna
to
know the
know, and
list.
I know I'm sure the constituents would like to know, what type of legislature will you be interested in working on if you
You know what's
took
really
office?
funny about her question, because that was a question I was about to ask, which is what legislation have you pushed and what are you going to keep working on?
Sure.
And feeling that gap, or how does that affect our community? Oh, go ahead, Latoya Winters, or whatever your name is this week. Go ahead.
She took Nicole's last name Williams.
All right. She changes her last name every show. So. Go ahead. Tell us. Tell us what you've worked on.
So
what you have passed.
Sure.
What you haven't passed. What you want to push back in. Try to do it on the Senate level, and what you want to keep forward. We got about.
I'll be quick. So there are 4 bills that I've passed into law. One has been the sexual assault by police officer bill. That was one that Lena and I worked on together. We introduced that. It did not pass the first time it went through. The first time it was introduced, it passed the second session that it went in. So it is illegal if you are ever in custody with a police officer, for them to force you into sexual relations. Just say it like that. The other part of that, you would hope so, but
y'all had to make sure.
We had to make sure because there were
Seen
things
a lot of crazy stories going on.
there are things that have happened. I'm just gonna say it
Something
that
beneath the
way.
rug.
Actually, and it's not so far fetched because I was on a jury. I was a jury foreman for one where this exact
Situation
happened.
That's why I joked
More than
about
you
it
would
like
think.
that, to tell the public that it
And they were like,
really
"What?
seriously
No, it
a
really
thing.
is. Yeah, it is."
I don't want people to think about that's the least of our.
No.
that's
It's not the
something
least of our
serious
worries. That
you
is-
probably wouldn't.
Yeah. I've had also 3 education bills actually be passed into law. One was a technical fix, so we would not have to have DPI personnel work on like Easter Sunday to facilitate applications into the school choice program. That was a thing. And because it was done by state statute, they were working on like Easter Sunday one time. It was crazy. So we needed to correct that. The other 2 dealt specifically with teacher licensing to make sure that it was, we had reciprocity across states for people who were prepared elsewhere. Like if you got a teaching license in Illinois, that you could bring that license to Wisconsin and we would say, okay, we agree that you can teach. I was prepared as a teacher outside of Wisconsin, but had to transfer my license here and had to run through like 20,000 loopholes to I'm like, clearly I know what I'm doing.
That's love on y'all part for that one.
Yeah.
That's love. Because there's a lot of teachers.
It's a lot of
that come up
teachers
here.
that come here and that have been, and they have to take additional classes, and you're now forcing people into further debt to try to, meet the standards that are in this state, which should be, if you can pass the Praxis 1 and 2, you should be able to teach. I'm just sorry.
That's right. We need to great teachers. Don't run them off.
Don't run them off. That's the whole thing. So those were the other 2 bills that I passed. You asked Latoya about bills that I would be looking to reintroduce or introduce. So the first one would be a reintroduction, is requiring cash payment at businesses. Yes, I know we deal in digital currency a lot with the respective Cash App and other ways that everybody has a card. Most people have a card. There is a large population of people that are elderly and those that are more indigent that are unbanked. These are people who do not have a bank account. If you had to ever start over, if you just get released from, jail or prison, it's difficult for you to start over and get a bank account. And most people don't know that you can just walk into a bank and get a savings account, and that could suffice and help you with that banking situation. I believe that cash is still legal tender in the United States. As long as they're still printing money, we can still use it. So I think there's something to be said for businesses who do not utilize cash, because you're taking away, even when you go to Summerfest, you pay for parking with a card or through an app. Why not cash? Yeah. You're turning away people who would otherwise participate in large scale events when you don't accept cash as payment. So accepting cash as payment should be the norm for any business that operates in our state. That's one thing. The other part of that is...
Wait, can I just go back and say one other thing? I hope you add, I'm just going to put my 2 cents in. I hope you add that when they do pay cash, that you don't get an extra fee when you
That's the thing, when you don't have, yes. So usually if you pay cash, it's cheaper,
right?
Like if you pay for gas, it's cheaper than using a card, because the card companies are making more money off of the businesses, and the businesses then passing that cost on to us, to
which
the
I
consumer,
don't think is,
which is not fair. I have a whole thing about card companies and them doing a whole, we add that part too. So that's the thing. And like my grocery stores are upset because it's like 3.5% that they have to end up paying, and the prices of things are higher because they're now compensating for the fact that card companies are charging them for when we use cards in stores. So
and
it's the whole thing.
Card companies, a lot of them were doing this thing where if you spend less than $5, they'll charge you for. Now they didn't got advanced. Whether you spend $5 or not, they're charging 50 cents because they said they're being charged
a surcharge.
So it don't matter how much you spend.
Absolutely. The other part would be the Crown Act. I'm going to keep introducing the Crown Act because I think it's important for us to have equitable workplace spaces for folks, and we should not be discriminating against people because of how their hair grows out of their scalp. Yeah. Jermaine would not be allowed to work in certain places because he has locks. So, and that's why Jermaine said, I got my own job, my own boss.
But it should be allowed, like she said, and you shouldn't be judged by your hair.
Absolutely.
How you wear it.
Or that you don't do it and you just put it in a ponytail.
One thing that I look to introduce early in the next session, if I'm so able, would be something called the Taylor Swift bill. And y'all looking like, why would you introduce something called Taylor Swift bill?
Your faces change.
Yeah, your whole face is like Taylor Swift.
Right.
What? What is going on? So it's called the Taylor Swift bill because it started out of Minnesota. And it just was an incident with the NBA finals.
Mm-hmm.
The actor Wendell Pierce, not sure if you're familiar with him. He's been in a whole bunch of movies. He used, I think it was StubHub, to get tickets for the Knicks game.
Mm-hmm.
His tickets didn't show up until halftime for the Knicks game.
That's cold.
And then they would not give him a refund. He said, no, I wanted to see 4 quarters of the basketball game, not 2. I paid the tickets for 4. You gonna give them to me at halftime. That's not acceptable. So again, you have these third-party ticket companies, Ticketmaster, with all the exorbitant fees. You pay more fees probably at Ticketmaster than the actual concert, than Beyonce, whoever is getting the money for the show. So you get people who are scalpers that pay all this money. So trying to get some leverage so that consumers actually get what they pay for and not get bombarded with a bunch of fees. So the Taylor Swift bill is to bring equity to that process where you actually have to pay. The bulk of your fee has to be for the artist and for the actual ticket that you pay for, and not, $200 extra in fees that Ticketmaster and Live Nation and whoever else gets to, just take away.
We'll save more money.
So I'm trying to save more money. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And
so all of that stuff. So trying to help people and the consumer.
Right. And this is supposed to be a convenience to use Ticketmaster, but I know, like, I know people who go to, like, when there's a show at Pfizer,
Mm-hmm.
if you go down there to Pfizer, it's almost $100 or $200 cheaper sometimes. If you just go
If
to
you
the
go stand
box
in line.
office
Yeah.
and stand in line. Well,
Mhm.
we have a little bit more to talk about, but I thank Representative Myers for coming
Don't
in.
forget, polls are open until 8 p.m. Today. So hopefully, if you live in District 4, that is Shorewood, Glendale, Milwaukee, north of Capitol to 124th Street, and the village of Wauwatosa, if you live by Madison Park, we're talking to you. So please go out and vote today, and hopefully you will pick number 2 on your ballot, Lakeisha Myers, for Senate.
Please join Wisconsin Voices every Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. We will be focusing on community partnerships, voter education, and long-term collective impact for all Wisconsinites.
You're listening to Wisconsin Voices Be a Voice Radio. Follow us at BAWI Voice and learn more at wisconsinvoices.org.
The 3 pillars of Wisconsin Voices are protect democracy, build community, and teaching advocacy. Go to wisconsinvoices.org to learn more about Wisconsin Voices and our partners, and to stay up to date on all community events. If you like and want to support Wisconsin Voices and the work that they do, please click on the donation tab.
Joe Biden, oh my God, I'm
Memes
scared.
ugly.
And then other people, even on the Republican side, was like, what's going on with Trump? And both sides are like, can we pick somebody else at the convention? And I want to try to educate people on these conventions and the rules that tie this. In most states, not all, but and I'm only speaking in kind of large frame, not specifics, because there are some specifics that this would not apply to. But when you go as a delegate, you are signing a pledge to vote for that person. So when you are a Joe Biden delegate or you are a Trump delegate, most of the time you're signing a pledge that at least for the first round, you are going to vote for that person. Now, the only way that you don't have to vote for that person on the first round is if either one of the candidates say, you know what, I'm suspending my race, I'm not running anymore. So if, for instance, Joe Biden walked in today and said, you know what, I'm done, I'm not going to run anymore, then that would be a kind of like a free for all. And then all the delegates would be free to vote whoever they wanted to. But at the convention, at least for the first round, they have to vote that. Now, the reason the super delegates and stuff came into play in 2016 is because Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton were so close that nobody with just pledged delegates had enough to get over that threshold. Mm-hmm. So that's why the super delegates came in. With these 2 elections, almost all of the delegates that are pledged are already pledged to them, so they will be able to get over that threshold. That's the first thing. So let's just make it clear that it is going to be rare if something happens that either party will be changing their nominee. Secondly, there is a lot of both Democrats and Republicans who would be disenfranchised if you decided to do that. Because everybody doesn't agree, even though, some people say that Biden and Trump had bad debates, there are still people who are supporting. So you don't want the people who are supporting Trump to split. They might split from the party and they may not get a nominee. Same thing with the Democratic side, where there are people who want to replace Biden, but there are also people who think that he's our best shot to beat Trump. So as we sit and talk about some of these things, there's a bunch of stuff going out, but you really have to make sure that is it feasible. This is not feasible on either side of this, unless the candidate themselves say, I'm not running. or I'm suspending my campaign. So I guess I wanted to say, now let's concentrate on making sure that you pick the person that you want to be in office, and not, and just concentrate on that person and make sure that they get in office. We do not endorse anyone, so we're just saying you should exercise your right to vote. This is just presidential. This in August, you will be trying to pick your two people, or the people that are going to serve you on the Assembly and the Senate side. That's important as well.
The views and opinions expressed on this show do not reflect that of the staff and management of WNOV and W293 CX 106.5 FM Courier Communications Milwaukee, but are the sole comments of the host and guest of this particular show.
The views and opinions expressed in this program do not reflect those of Wisconsin Voices, but are those of the host and guests of this particular show, and their appearance on the program does not imply any endorsements or representation by Wisconsin Voices. Thank you for listening to Be a Voice with Wisconsin Voices.
Be a voice.
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 Visit WisconsinVoices.org.
Visit WisconsinVoices.org.
Visit WisconsinVoices.org
And learn more on how to be a voice with Wisconsin Voices.